studio full of Witcher and Cyberpunk veterans, a trailer narrated by Tom Hardy, a promise of Total War tactics, Kingdom Come Deliverance Fidelity, and 1,000 men aside. It sounds incredible, which is exactly why I'm trying not to get too excited about it. We've all been burnt before. So let's do the honest thing. Not is it exciting, but more around can they actually deliver it, their vision and their promises. I want to start with what they're actually promising, because it's a lot and it's not quite what everyone thinks. Chronicles Medieval is set during the 14th century, during the 100 Years' War within Europe. It's a sandbox RPG, where you command the army and fight in the front line from a third-person perspective. It's being developed by Raw Power Games out of Copenhagen, with a set release date for Steam Early Access in 2026. And we're already halfway through 2026, so who's to say that this will be coming out in the next few months, or will it be delayed until 2027? We'll have to see. It's also going to be a PC-first release, with consoles coming later down the line. It's a debut title, and as of June 2025, the game already had 200,000 wishlists off the Summer Game Fest reveal. 3 factions have been announced so far. We have England, France, and the Holy Roman Empire, each with its own units and battlefield behaviour. They're not just a menu choice. With it being set in the age of the 100 Years' War, it's not a strict recreation, it's a sandbox. There will be characters and events which may occur that relate to that time period, but it's very much driven by the player narrative. Chronicles Medieval will also be incorporating an element of scale to its gameplay. And when I talk about scale, I'm not talking to the nth degree of what Total War has to offer, where you see tens of thousands of characters on screen. But the ambition of Chronicles Medieval and what the developers have stated is that they'd ideally like to achieve the goal of 2,000 characters on screen, 1,000 aside as a ceiling, and ensuring that the game scales appropriately to individual players' hardware. There is also the promise of cooperative play, where you can play with friends, and there is 2 stages to this. At launch, it's co-op custom battles up to 4 players, and then ultimately later on, campaign co-op, and everyone wants this to be the 1.0 dream, but it's not currently committed. And the fastest way to test a promise before a game is actually released is against the games that already proved each piece is possible. So I'm going to get my measuring sticks out now, and the measuring sticks are against other games which already released and have achieved certain bars. I'm going to start with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and that is the Fidelity bar. So the amount of detail and the level that you can get into with the RPG elements, equipping your character with appropriate gear, being weapons, armor, all that kind of good stuff, and choosing to play the game the way that you want to. Chronicles Medieval is being pitched and framed in that same bucket. It's looking to have Kingdom Come Deliverance depth. The next bar is the Total War one, which is the command bar, the ability to direct and command your own armies. We know it can be done, but not to the same fidelity that Chronicles Medieval is looking to do. So Total War games generally lower fidelity, unit level troops from a god's eye camera. You never stand in the mud shoulder to shoulder with your own soldiers. And the next comparison is a valid one, Mount and Blade Bannerlord, the incumbent hybrid. It's proven. The command plus fight hybrid sells really, really well, and it's a very popular game, and I personally enjoy it too. And Chronicles Medieval has been framed by outlets and players alike that it will be the Mount and Blade killer, but I'm not here to endorse that. I'm kind of hoping this just lights a fire under the developers of Mount and Blade to add and innovate their current product. The Mount and Blade developers even stated that co-op was a big missed opportunity for them, and this has now been facilitated through mods that has been developed by the modding community. The catch with Mount and Blade Bannerlord, and this could be more of a personal opinion, but also what I've also read on various forums, is that it's quite janky when it comes to the combat, and at the same time, the camera is quite awkward from the perspective that you're attempting to command thousands of individual fighters on a battlefield. And I think this is somewhere that Chronicles Medieval can capitalize on with how they're developing the commanding ability within their game, where you effectively pedestal up to see the whole battlefield and then command your units within the localization of your own character. An honourable mention here is Voor De Kroon, which is a video game being developed by an individual, I believe, out of the Netherlands. And it's proof that the hybrid is buildable at an indie scale with an indie budget. and it's got incredible reviews on Steam, very, very positive reviews. And it's got the same characteristics of Mount and Blade and also what Chronicles Medieval is looking to do. You're an individual commanding an army with the ability to have an RTS camera to command your battle lines, and then you come out of the battle scene and you're on a sandbox medieval world. So in summary, Chronicles isn't promising more men on a battlefield, it's promising Bannerlord scale without the jank at Kingdom Come Deliverance's level of fidelity. So this is where my concern comes into play. Nobody's combined all of it at once to a high degree of success. Total War scale at Kingdom Come Deliverance's fidelity with individual soldiers from a camera you can drop into, plus co-op. Every bar's been cleared, just not all at the same time. And because of that, I'm really hoping Raw Power Games can pull this off and deliver a fantastic medieval sandbox game. So I now want to build a balanced scale of for and against as to why I think Chronicles Medieval is going to be a successful game. So if we look at the case for, there is pedigree mapped to the job. Looking at Raw Power Games' core team, you have a person called Andrzej Zawadzki, who, also known as Andy, led the RPG systems on Cyberpunk 2077, crafting, cyberware, net running, and he's now a creative designer at Raw Power. The benefit here, which aligns perfectly with a sandbox game, is deep interlocking RPG system design, which is exactly what Chronicle Medievals will either live or die on. It's the strongest, in my opinion, pedigree to game match on the team. You have Daniel Janitzek, who was a senior combat designer on Lord of the Fallen 2. The benefit here is that with the melee with that particular game was weighty and deliberate, which is directly relevant to Chronicles' authentic and grounded swordplay ambitions. You also have Christian Jespersen, who worked on the Hitman series at IO Interactive. The benefit with this particular experience is that Hitman is and was a masterclass in systemic reactive design, where worlds that respond to the player and what you do in that world, which maps onto Chronicles. Living world and runs whether you're watching or not. And they also have a HEMA consultant, HEMA being historical European martial arts, and that person is called Bjorn Ruter, who's working on the swordplay and working on the motion capture for the game and the individual characters and how they interact with one another. So maybe some cool executions, swordplay interactions, and how the battle lines interact with one another in the game world. And one little bonus point as well is that they have the Witcher composer Adam Skorupa on the music, so we can really anticipate some immersive music to really bring these battlefields to life and really invigorate the soul when these armies clash against one another. And obviously we cannot forget the acclaimed Danish actor Lars Mikkelsen, who will be voicing the protagonist Johannes Gutenberg within the game as well. And what I'm trying to highlight here is that Raw Power Games have the right people with the right experience to bring together all the right ingredients to build out this impressive sandbox experience within a medieval setting. Now they just need to execute upon it. The systems that they're looking to develop within the game, as iterated through their developer diaries, look thought through. And all these systems appear to work cohesively with one another. You have morale within your armies, so there are 5 states: inspired, confident, concerned, wavering, and broken, which is per unit, it's not army-wide, and morale breaks before bodies do. Broken equals rout, men lost even if they survive. So they could leave your army, become deserters, as I understand it, that's my interpretation, which is really cool. Your character is the morale anchor, so your presence close to your men, or those of you that are close to you, are going to be uplifted. So you may have to find yourself on horseback, running around, going to the flanks who've just been counterflanked by the enemy in order to bolster their spirits to ensure that they don't break and rout, and that whole side of your army starts crumbling as a hypothetical scenario. And more recently, they've highlighted the fact that formations have an impact within the game as well. So you've got your wedge formations, shield walls, skeins, etc. But then you also have an element of cohesion between the different unit types. If you have really well disciplined, let's just say a the retinue of your house, and they're deployed on the field. You're going to see that they're more closely packed and regimented in terms of how they're stood next to one another, regimented stiff lines. And then you have a levy unit, which will be kind of like more of sparsely, not as well trained. So then it's going to be apparent what troops are well trained and those which aren't, and which, you know, you might be able to punch a hole through with a flanking maneuver. Yes, I am a little bit obsessed with flanking. And just tying in all to this as well, you've also got the faction identity of each faction is tactical. So French cavalry is a vanguard charge. The English longbowmen like to sit on the flanks and hit the sides of the approaching enemy. And with the Holy Roman Empire, you've got dense drilled main battle line, like a big bulky anvil that's walking in. The factions are distinct in their battle behaviour, not just aesthetically and how they look, but it's a real point in the game's favour. They're really thinking about how these armies are being developed and how they will interact and perform on the battlefield. The developers have also highlighted that they understand the time period. It wasn't always all about battles like Cressy. It was more about battles similar to Morlaix. And when I say that, it's not huge, you know, thousands upon thousands against each other in armies clashing against one another, but the more smaller conflicts, maybe 150 against 300, that kind of thing. A small outnumbered force on chosen ground, and a battle decided the night before by men digging out outcrops and placing stakes. So there's more about the practice of medieval war, the planning and the reading of the ground, not the huge spectacles. And I think just reading that and understanding what the developers are saying, they're leading with the small battles initially as they understand the time period. So we should be in good hands in that respect. And I would hope that they've got historian consultants that they're approaching and have on board to really go into that level of detail. So on paper, this appears to be the real deal, but there are elements that stopping me signing off on it and jumping on that hype train. Fidelity at scale is harder than Kingdom Come Deliverance's fidelity. And when I talk about fidelity, it's not purely how the game looks, the detail, the realism, that kind of thing. It's the fidelity of the relevant systems within the game world. With Kingdom Come Deliverance, you've got a really enriched RPG experience where you can develop your character in a specific way. You have perks, you have skills, swordplay, skills that you can develop, etc. And you've also got the way that you interact with the world. So the people and how they respond to you, how they see you based on the actions that you commit within the game. Another high fidelity system within Kingdom Come Deliverance is the crafting. I mean, Henry is a blacksmith and you go and make swords and weapons, and it's a mini game in itself. And I'm not too sure if that's something that we will see in Chronicles Medieval, but it would be good to see if there's some sort of profession system or job system within the game, and as you level up within those respective jobs or professions, you unlock perks. Think Bannerlord, with as you trade more, you unlock more trading ability and perks associated with selling equipment versus selling trade goods, that kind of thing. Just reiterating on the point that I made before, it's the combination at this level of the various bars we spoke about: Total War scale versus Kingdom Come Deliverance's fidelity, and making that a hybrid between the two. It's just unproven anywhere at a really in-depth level. I mean, with Bannerlord, you've got the battles and you have the individual characters, etc. But in my opinion, the other systems are very much surface level. It doesn't really go into the depth. The game world, from what I've experienced, it's quite stale in the sense of, yeah, you've got some bandit camps, you go in, you kill them off, you come back out, you've got some running around looters, that kind of thing, you go around, you kill them off. Whereas what we've been shown with Chronicles Medieval, it's a real world based on real places with characters from that time era, and then you can go and speak and visit these places, and I would imagine there would have to be some more depth to that. I guess what I'm trying to say here, I don't want these systems to feel abstract and adjacent to the core gameplay. I want them to feel cohesive and involved with one another. And I think that's going to be quite hard to do. But as Chronicles Medieval is released and it goes through its early access period, hopefully input from players, me being one of them, might be heard and that will be incorporated into the game. Not having to rely on a mod scene to incorporate that and create that depth for us. Another thing that I'm somewhat concerned about, and this is directly in comparison to previous points I made around the experience that the developer team has, the individuals with their backgrounds and experience. It's their first game as a team, as I understand, and that 1,000 years of experience, which it's on Raw Power Games' own about page line on their website. It's 100-day devs times, I don't know, a decade each. It's impressive, but combined CVs aren't a shipped title. It's unproven. I'm probably being a bit harsh here, and I apologize for that, but I'm trying to be a skeptic at the same time as being empowered to think, oh, this could be really good at the same time. But, you know, it's going to be their first game as a team, working cohesively together to deliver something unique. I'm also worried about their promise around the co-op. Because in my mind, that's one of their USPs or key selling points when compared to Bannerlord. Campaign co-op in a real-time sandbox is generally hard to do. And we think about other games which have co-op multiplayer within these medieval settings, think Total War games, etc. They had a whole slew of problems, desync issues, save file problems, that kind of thing. And it was just really hard to set up. And this is parked at a 1.0 version release. It's explicitly uncommitted from a team that shipped nothing yet. The dream feature is the likeliest thing to slip from the development. None of this means that Chronicles Medieval is set to fail. It just means the margin for error is quite small. So, are we in for a treat or not? Personally, I think it will be achievable at launch. The tactical core at human scale, so more lay fight styles plus co-op custom battles, where the game likely lives, is a realistic promise. What is most at risk is the uncommitted dream of that 1,000 versus 1,000 at Fidelity with a co-op campaign. The way that Raw Power Games have positioned on this, it seems like it's a stretch goal, and the truest test of whether the ambition survives contact with reality. I think this is the most ambitious swing the genre's taken in years, and the ambition at this scale is exactly where debut studios break. But because the soul of it is the small fight, the smaller battles, the spectacle number isn't the make or break. Nail the battles that matter at any size and it's special, even if the ceiling slips. And with that in mind, I will be keeping my eye on and watching at early access is whether the small battles have real tactical weight, whether the morale of your armies reads on the field and they respond to you and your presence and how you act on the battlefield, and whether the frontline combat has any heft and it feels fun and interactive, where it's still based in an element of realism, but there's also the fun aspect to it as well. That's my honest read on Chronicles Medieval currently. But this one's built on personal opinion, so I want yours. So down in the comments, do the veterans deliver, or is this the next big medieval letdown? This is Ollie Strikes signing out for now. Ciao.